I find it peculiar and fascinating that in cards, which I call elections, but cards in certain so in certain cards in certain states, you've got a red wave happening across the entire card, but then a pivot for governor to a Democrat. Fascinating. I don't see any Republicans doing that ever, ever, at all. I see also tickets where a red wave all the way down and pivot for the AG, a pivot for the senator. Weird.
But don't you
Very
think that
weird.
ties into
Very
the
odd.
importance of abortion and how many people actually want those rights and are
No.
afraid that if it's a red wave, it's gonna take that away?
No, I think that anybody who thinks that's completely foolish and like halfway retarded. Because and I'm not saying that you think that because of the question.
I might think that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's let me explain. You know, what I'm saying because I actually have nothing but respect for you guys. This is why. What happened with the SCOTUS ruling made it to where it's now a state's issue. And so if anybody is opposed to that, what they're literally saying is that they think that any president that gets elected in, say Donald Trump in the future, can make an executive order just banning outright from federal level abortions. So if you're cool with that, you know, hey, let's go back to not being states' rights. Or in California, where it's already a state right, it's literally part of the Constitution. There's zero to talk about here. All they can complain about is, oh my God, there's people in other states that can't get an abortion. It's like, okay, well, it's like, yeah, that's the entire way our government works. It, you know, just like in certain states that there's not legalized cannabis, it's because they haven't put it on a ballot. There hasn't been an initiative, and it hasn't passed with that Republican process. Until it goes through that process, sorry, you know what I mean? But where it has, like in California, it's like, what are we complaining about here? In any state where there's legal abortion, every single person there should have zero to say about abortion and its legalities because nothing's changed for them whatsoever from the SCOTUS ruling. It actually strengthened the fact that the state and the people and the collective there will be able to control the way that that rolls out or doesn't roll out in the future. So, I mean, the way I look at it is the best thing that could possibly happen because now if you don't like abortion, great, move to Alabama or wherever they don't have abortion. I have no idea. But you know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, what are you complaining about?
It does give the power back to the states. I think
100%, which is the people.
Which is the people. I think the argument is that what if you're in a state where it's not legal and you want an abortion and you can't afford the means to go to a state where it is legal? What do you do then?
That totally sucks for that person. But it's also, it's like we're back to like, what's the solve for that? It's make an initiative, get it on the ballot, pass it, and make it legal, or move to a state where you can get an abortion. Or,
but don't you think? I mean, where you are pro cannabis, don't you
Yeah.
think cannabis should be legal nationwide?
100%.
Isn't that kind of how they stand with abortion? Is that it should be legal nationwide?
I
It's
mean,
just
maybe.
about this access thing. That
Yeah,
you should be
I
able to
do
smoke
see
a
that.
joint in California, and you should be able to go to Texas and smoke the same joint.
The difference though is we're murdering babies in the womb, and there's that. Like you walk in with a baby and you walk out without a baby. Kind of hard to get around that one, isn't it, leftists? Really difficult.
It is an interesting. It is an interesting point.
We
But
have 3 kids.
I'm
so
I'm pro you doing whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't hurt somebody.
same.
That's my stance. But
Same.
in my stance of interpreting that, I also throw abortion in there. Like, yeah, if you want to have an abortion, I think an argument can be made that it gets dicey when it gets later into the pregnancy. I haven't really
100%.
I haven't tried to dive too deep into that, but I think an argument could be made, hey, 9 months, maybe we should think about some other options.
I mean,
But if you're 3 months pregnant and you're like, I can't raise this baby, I don't have any money, this kid's gonna have a rough life.
adoption.
Yeah, but then you still have to carry that baby to term.
I'm sorry for you taking irresponsible decisions with your genitals. I don't know what to say about that. But the way I look at it is this, okay? Are American babies in the womb Americans to be?
Well, I guess are you asking me?
100%.
I think it's a stance on.
No. I mean, like, literally just want that question answered.
Well,
are American babies in the womb?
I'm probably not the best person to.
But just you personally, do you think an American baby in the womb is an American to be? Like, they're going to be born and they're going to be an American because they're an American baby.
I think that human life is no more or less valuable than any other life. So if you're
I
willing
agree
to
there.
kill a deer,
Yeah, I agree there.
I think, I mean, I late term abortions, we can make the argument. I think you should be able to have an abortion. I would say 3 months. That's probably comfortable. I don't know what a baby looks like at 3 months in the womb, but that's probably.
I don't know. To me,
I think the heartbeat and it gets dicey because if the baby can't live on its own, is it really its own thing?
I don't
Right?
know,
If you have a parasite feeding off of you,
which
and
it
you,
technically is.
which it is, because
Yeah.
it's living outside of that, and then it's
Yeah.
feeding on you. I mean, what? What?
I mean,
It
I
depends on
see it.
what you
I see
value
it.
as a person and what is life, what is real life.
The way that it shakes up for me is this: is what I have a hard time reconciling. Is what I should say is what I have a really hard time reconciling, which kind of shaped my views. Is this: is I view, because I've had 3 boys, right, and I've held my hand over my wife's stomach, and I've felt them kicking from the inside from very, very early on, right? And the experience is moving. It's an incredible experience, especially when it's coupled with later seeing them come out and then them being a person and then now them being, 10 and 12 years old and speaking to me and having opinions and being geniuses, and so going through that experience, the way I see it is that if you are an American woman and you have a baby in your tummy, that is an American to be. It will be born an American, regardless of all factors. It will be an American, even if it's a lump of cells when it comes out and it's like nothing. It still is an American, right? Because that's the way the law works. It's just flat out. When you're born on American soil from an American, you're an American. Period. That's and so we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all 3 of those things are being completely subtracted as an opportunity from that living being before it even has a chance to even understand what those concepts even are. I have a hard time accepting that reality in any shape or form for myself personally. I would never abort any child that I ever conceive. And if any woman were to try to abort it, it would be a confrontation for sure, because I would literally look at them as murdering my children. But that's because I've had 3 children and I've gone through it, and I love my kids and I love my life and I live my life for my kids. A lot of the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing right now is for my kids, and because of the way that they see me and because of the way that they view the things that I've done in the past couple years and stuff. They see me as a hero, to them at least, and that's their opinions are the only opinions that really matter to me. And just yeah, I can't conceive of a reality of extinguishing all that I've experienced in their lives from happening just because of this perception at the moment that you're not going to be able to deal with, what life's going to, hand you as far as this pregnancy and this, life to be and all these things that, you know what I mean? Because, the woman could be, oh, I'm broke, or I'm a drug addict, or I'm this or I'm that. There's all these negative potentials that can, overshade your perspective and your kind of judgment on how to do things in that moment. And the hindsight's always 2020. And so, like, I've been in many situations where in that situation, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, I'm making the right choice. And it's only later down the road, sometimes even years, where I look back and I was like, God damn it, I made a mistake. And it's just because things changed and I learned. And that's why I think that those folks that make those decisions, the amount of abortion regret is huge. And no one talks about
I
it.
wonder what the amount of non-abortion regret is. How many people had the kid and are like, "Oh, shut up. This is not panning out." But what do you make? Because you're a populist, so
Yeah.
you were power for the people.
Yes.
What do you make of the argument where if you don't like an abortion, you shouldn't get one, but you shouldn't stop somebody else from getting one?
That's why I like states' rights.
Because it is up to the people.
Correct.
I mean, there's a strong argument for that,
Yeah.
right?
I think that when that SCOTUS ruling happened, I was actually in Mexico on a vacation with my wife, and I was in the shower, and it came up on my phone, and my phone actually like audibly like read it because I had something I was messing with at the time, And I was just like, yes, yes, states' rights, woo, woo. And she's like, what happened? I'm like, abortion is now states' rights. It's 100% states' rights. Like it's we the people. It's every state can decide. It's the way it ought to be, you know. And she's like, I don't understand, and I just like explained it to her. But that's how I feel about it. It's like states' rights are huge, man. Like, so this is how powerful it is. Okay, so dovetailing back into cannabis. Are you aware of the? I'm not aware of the actual name of the initiative, but you had like Nadalin and Ross from the Cannabis Growers Association coming out fire comments to the Board of Supervisors in opposition to this. Like, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe you can look it up. It's like an initiative to like reduce the canopy size or something. I think so. Maybe the Trellis Project. I'm not sure exactly, but that's the first. The Trellis was the first one. It's like brand new. But anyways, these old folks down in Southern Humboldt, they created this initiative. They were out at the fair getting signatures, and it was basically like, yo, we want to like eliminate these massive farms that are doing like these bad things to the environment and and basically like they made it sound like they were all for like small businesses and small cannabis farmers, but when you really look into the nitty gritty of what they were saying, it was going to eliminate like the massive amount of farms that are here, and it was actually mischaracterizing what you would call like commercial and industrial cannabis to make it seem like it wasn't what it actually is, you know? And so they were out there spitting fire comments about it and like in you know, in passing and stuff and on the Board of Supervisors. And I was just there and I was super impressed by both of them. But so I've lost my train of thought thinking of their public comments. They were that good. Let me think about what I was saying. Basically about how it goes into abortion and so they have so yeah, that's what it is. The power of we the people. They made this initiative and they got I think like 4,000 or 7,000 signatures, somewhere right in there. And because they got these signatures and they were all verified signatures, the Board of Supervisors now has to either accept the initiative as is or put it on the ballot for 2024, right? And so that's how powerful it is. Like any of these states where there's not abortion, any collective group of people can do this. They can write an initiative. They can get with initiative writers. They can do this. I mean, if that old lady and that old dude can do it, I mean, you go watch on Board of Supervisors in the video. If they could do it, you could do it. I could do. Any of us could do it. Like what I learned that day was like, wow, I could write an initiative for literally whatever I want and get 7-ish thousand, some kind of thousands of signatures and make it a thing. You know, like it blew my mind. Like I didn't know it was that easy. You know, and so that's kind of where we're at. You know, with this whole abortion thing. It was like I think that it's back to a place where it's actually in a good space because we, the people, collectively in each state, can define the future of that state in terms of abortion, cannabis, what have you.
But don't you think there are some things that supersede the state power and should be like marijuana? I think that marijuana should be legal across the board. I
Mhm,
don't care if a
mhm.
state doesn't agree with it. It should be legal across the board. Alcohol is legal. I also think it's legal. It's retarded that some states you can't buy alcohol certain days or after certain times.
Yeah.
If you're an adult and you're of legal age, buy whatever you want whenever you want, right? But that's a power that I think should supersede the state jurisdiction.
The
And we do have certain things like that where
yeah.
it's, hey, Big Daddy's coming in, the federal government, we're going to make this decision and it's the law of the land.
Right, right. That's not supposed to happen, which is kind of fascinating, which is something I learned when dovetailing into all this kind of stuff. Which was I was looking into a Second Amendment court case and I was writing a paper on that or a blog piece on that, and really fascinating. I didn't know this, but the states came before the federal government, and the states made the federal government, right? And so the federal government is subservient to the states. So there's no way without the states. I can't remember the actual words, like abdicating. I think it's their power to you know what I mean? Basically, they're like, yeah, you know, that's the only time technically when the federal government's supposed to reign. And it's also, they take care of like the entire continent as a whole, like the entire collective as a whole, and then also interstate commerce and stuff like that.
But the Second Amendment's an even better example. Some states say you have to have a 10-round mag, which
Mhm.
is retarded,
It is.
but they say that.
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't the federal government come in and say, hey, no, you can
Mm.
have any capacity mag, right?
Um,
Wouldn't that be a superseding power of them making that decision, even though some states say, hey, we voted on this, we want 10 rounds.
I believe that all of the states that have made um laws to date from this point forward, any like California, for example, all laws that are restrictive um further than the Second Amendment basically applies, like all of those are going to have like hardships going forward because the SCOTUS ruling was basically that now they have to find a historical precedent, a classical historical precedent where back in the time when the Second Amendment was written, that they can point back and go like, yeah, they've done things like this before, and that's why this makes sense because they've done this before. And so, like just recently, dovetailing right back into cannabis in Florida, I mean, this is because I ran a news organization. I'm constantly fed shit, right? And so, like in Florida, there's this case, the Second Amendment case, right, where there the federal government and the department or the state, what was it, the state ag, what was that, the State Department of Agriculture, I can't remember her name, Nikki Friedman, yes, I think it's Nikki Friedman, the state department, the Florida Department of Agriculture, I think her name's Nikki Friedman. She is on a case, a Second Amendment case, and it's basically where the federal government, the Biden DOJ, is telling them that, hey, marijuana smokers, marijuana growers, they cannot own a firearm, right? And so what it is when you fill out to go to firearm, you fill out the ATF form, right? And then there's like a part on the ATF form where it says like, it used to be like, oh, if you're addicted to drugs, you're addicted to these things, then, you know, click here and they're going to deny you the ability to buy a firearm, right? Well, they changed it to where underneath that it says asterisk, even if you're lawfully consuming marijuana or you're lawfully doing this as, voted in, yada, yada, this doesn't matter to us. You're still breaking the law. You should probably check this and get denied your firearms, basically. So they're basically is like the Biden DOJ is like, yeah, cannabis growers, cannabis smokers, marijuana smokers, too dangerous to own a firearm. We should probably add this clause. This is a brand new thing that's been added to the ATF in the past like 2 years, okay, in the firearm thing. And so they're suing him over that. And they asked him, hey, what's your historical precedence for this change? And they're like, oh, yeah, we've restricted firearms from people like Catholics and Indians before in the past, literally using the word Catholics and the word Indians, which was happening right in the entire time of Alan Bongio's a racist for saying the word Indian.
Find this, Andy.
Yeah.
That's
Go to my website. It's one of the blog posts I wrote. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's 100% fact. And so, what is it? It's the one, I think it's Biden DOJ. If you go to Los Angeles Populous, Biden DOJ, marijuana smokers too dangerous.
But don't you think there's an argument to be made that it's almost like, which people love to do is cherry pick their side, that, yeah, marijuana, gun rights should be enforced by the federal government, but abortion should be up to the states. But if states say, well, maybe we want to limit Second Amendment rights. Like New York's a great example too. New York and California are up there.
Yeah.
Should they have the power to do that if the people in that state vote, we don't want guns or we don't want these round mags?
You cannot vote away your constitutional rights.
People have tried.
They've tried.
People try.
They try. California's been trying for a long time.
And it's been effective. We have 10-round mag limits. I think
those are going away.
I think Oregon, yeah, but I think Oregon just voted one in.
Yeah.
A 10-round mag limit.
Yeah. All of them are going to have so what it is like, you can pass the initiative, you can vote it in, they can start doing it, and then me and you have to now sue them, the state, and then it has to go.
California's had that, and I think a judge,
right there,
a judge recently or a year or two ago said it's unconstitutional, but it's still in effect.
Mm-hmm.
So what? It's just in effect for the next 20 years. The judge just keeps halting it, or
it's basically until it shakes out in court, and then then it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's like, yeah, no, you have to have a historical precedent for this.
So this is your site. This is Local Populist.
Yes, sir.
Are marijuana users inherently dangerous in the year 2022? See if you can find.
If you scroll down just a little bit, it's right there. See Freed versus Garland right there. That's the case.
The story revolves around a lawsuit, Freed versus Garland, filed in the Northern District of Florida by Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Freed. In her official capacity as the Commissioner of Agriculture, against the Department of Justice. This case explicitly targets the United States Department of Justice's denial of ATF-4473 forms submitted by persons who are medical marijuana patients and recreational users who answer the form honestly about their lawful activities.
Which is like, if you think about that, it's like, wow.
Well, if you think, I mean, if you want to be honest, the fact that
It's
you
like,
can
wow.
drink alcohol and own a gun, but you can't smoke weed
It's
and own a gun,
insane.
it's a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
You can smoke cigarettes, and we're gonna allow that, but you can't smoke weed. What are we doing here?
You can literally have prescription
But
painkillers.
see, I would argue states are being kind of dumb, and we need to kick that up. Listen, I am not for Big Daddy coming in on all situations,
Yeah.
because that worries me. But I think there are certain circumstances where states are making poor choices,
I agree.
and the federal government has to uphold people's freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And in line with that, if you don't like abortion, if I don't like abortion, whoever doesn't like it, whatever, however you feel, it doesn't matter. Don't get it. If you don't like it, don't
Right.
get it. And I'm willing to go out. I love hunting. I'm gonna kill a deer. I'm gonna take a buck. I think an argument. I don't know. I think an argument could be made. Restrictions. I think 3 weeks is crazy. That
That's crazy.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
How many people don't know they're pregnant at 3 weeks?
I just think it should just be like,
You're
it
just
should be use case.
use case.
Yeah.
But only use case in pretty severe circumstances like rape
100%.
and incest.
100%.
Well, what if you get somebody pregnant, they're addicted? I wouldn't want my kid being born to a meth addict or a prostitute.
I
mean,
wouldn't
what do you
want it
do?
either, but I wouldn't want to murder their kid either. Like, I don't see that as the answer. Like, to me, it's like,
But what about I mean, foster care is terrible.
it's not perfect. The
It's-
world's not perfect.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, so in keeping up with that, shouldn't we say, well,
No.
if you're
Kill the
under 3
kid,
months, under 6 months,
murder the kid, save him this terrible potential life. What if he grows up to be a Ben Carson?
Listen, I could say honestly, if I'm in the womb and shit's not looking great for me, take me out of the game. Coach, pull me out. I'm not gonna feel any
like,
two ways about it.
I'm not gonna beat you up about your disposition.
Yeah, but
You know what I
honestly,
mean?
I'm not a dad, so I mean,
Yeah.
I can only speculate because I've never had a kid. I've
Have
been in
one, dude. It's
situations.
awesome.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna wait a little
especially
bit
the
on
making
that.
the kid part.
That seems like the best part. But
It
it's
is
the
amazing.
it's the effects that come after that you're like.
I love my wife.
But I mean, it's interesting where you are this power to the people, and it doesn't seem like. So you are anti-abortion, but with stipulations. With
Me
rape,
personally.
with rape and
Me
incest.
personally, Donnie Creekmore is anti-abortion with some stipulations. As far as
stipulations.
Lost Coast Populist is concerned, we're a populist platform, and we're also
I like the little disclaimer going out.
well. I just don't want people thinking that Lost Coast Populist is like an anti-abortion platform. You know what I mean? If someone wants to write a pro-abortion opinion piece, I'm gonna totally publish it. I'm not gonna edit it a bit. You know what I mean? I'll
But-
even search engine optimize the thing.
But where I'm going with that is you are anti for yourself with stipulations, but
Yeah.
you are not anti states ratifying it if a majority of those people want it.
No, yeah, that's perfect. That's beautiful.
You just want the people to have the say.
100%. 100%. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. If the people in like I am 100% okay with the people of California saying abortion's legal. The people have spoken. That's the end all for me. That's like there's nothing I can say. The people have spoken.
I mean, there is an argument for that. Why doesn't every state just
Yeah.
enforce their own legality of abortion?
A lot of it is it takes work, and it's back to the
People don't like work.
I
That's
swear,
that's
dude.
the hard part.
It's bro, and it's back to the volunteerism. The overwhelming majority of all these folks we're talking about are volunteers just like me in these central committees, going to these boring meetings, not knowing what the hell they're doing. Those are the people that become politicians. It's like it's a fascinating road to walk, bro. I mean, it's like